Puppet Master 2 sees a new group of characters investigating the Bodega Inn, but this time, a resurrected Andrea Toulon backs up his living puppets as a central mad scientist-style villain. But of course, we're really here for the murderous puppets' escapades. Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim. This is a horror movie podcast. We get together and we talk about a horror movie, and we are going back to a franchise today. One that we started in October of 2020, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah, so this was when you just returned from your first kid. We did the original Puppet Master, and we're here today to talk about Puppet Master 2 because there's like 12 of these bloody things, so we have to start chipping away at them sometime. And you know, now that Hellraiser's finished and Leprechaun's finished, we got some franchise slots open, I suppose, if you want to call it that. So we'll start spoiler free for Puppet Master 2. There may be some spoilers for Puppet Master 1 though, just because, you know, sequel, all that. But we'll warn you before we get to spoilers. Puppet Master 2 is set once again at the hotel by the beach, where all the psychics went in the first one, although this time it's a team of paranormal investigators who are trying to study the building. Although the movie like goes into very little about what they're actually doing there, and it feels like they just kind of forget. Like that's why they're there. Like that's the reason why they're hanging around. But it feels like it never really focuses on them really investigating anything or anything like that. But they're there. The man who made the puppets has been reincarnated and dug up by the puppets, and he is walking around like he's the Invisible Man with all the bandages on and the hat, and he's up to no good. And of course the puppets are going to kill people again because that's the whole point. This is Puppet Master movie. So yeah, but you know, we were pretty lukewarm in the first one. It had some moments, but it's a little bit slow, the first Puppet Master movie. So yeah. So I guess I'll just ask the question with that in mind. Tim, how did you feel about Puppet Master 2?
It's kind of weird because I really cannot remember almost anything about the first one. Which, I mean, I guess we did it, you know, it has been a couple of years now at this point. But I mean, I'm guessing maybe because it was kind of a little slow and stuff, maybe that why it didn't leave much of an impact. But yeah, it's funny because you talk about all like the psychics and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, that was like a whole thing with the first one, huh?
I vaguely remembered that, but to be completely honest with you, before I watched this one, I did read the wiki summary of the first one just to refresh my memory and what the hell happened, because I really could not remember too much of it either. So yeah,
but I mean, with that being said, though, I don't think you really need to know anything about the first one, for this one. And honestly, I had a good time with this one. I thought it was fun. I like anything that starts off with like puppets resurrecting a dead body. It's hard, not to get into that. But I mean, yeah, I'm thinking this one maybe is just a little bit tighter. Maybe it gets to the stuff that you want more, like you're seeing the puppets like right away, and there's some like pretty decent deaths, and it's very quick. It's like it's like 88 minutes or whatever, so it's kind of in and out, but I think it's fun. The some stuff against it is like I wouldn't say the characters are like super memorable. Maybe other than like a few people here and there, like the psychic or the rowdy neighbors or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, like those people stick out, but then the main characters like weren't super that interesting. But it's fine because kind of just here to see puppets wreak havoc. I do think all the stuff with the guy. I always forget his name. Was it like Toulon or something like that?
Yeah, Toulon. Andre Toulon's the guy. He's the titular puppet master, if you will.
All the stuff with him like running around is, I don't know if it was supposed to intentionally be kind of funny, but it did make me laugh, just the way everyone's pretty much taking him seriously and not like being like creeped out by the fact that there's like an invisible man, like bandaged guy, that all of a sudden is just showing up in this hotel. I was like, no, yeah, actually, this is my hotel and stuff. And like, they're all just like, well, okay, I guess we'll just let him stay here. Like,
yeah, I should clarify that when we keep saying Invisible Man, and we're only saying that because of the bandages, and that he's not literally invisible. He looks like Invisible Man in the original Invisible Man movie. What he'd wear when he wanted to like hide his invisibility was bandages and a hat, and maybe he's got sunglasses on in this as well. I don't know, but it's a very similar get-up.
Yeah, and no one at any point is ever like, hey, this is weird. Like,
no one's like, what's wrong with your face?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but no, I mean, I think it's a pretty fun movie. I had a good time.
Yeah, it's definitely better than the first one. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's a good movie. It's definitely silly. It's definitely got some things in it. I will say, like, the puppets kill, I wouldn't say who yet, because we're in spoiler free, but the puppets kill someone relatively early on, and the group in the hotel become aware of it. And there's, like, no reason, I think, given why they don't like ever call the police, which is especially absurd as the movie goes on and like romances develop, and I'm like, now's the time for a romance to develop, is it? Where you've not even went to the police yet about this. Like, I don't know. There's just some weird, like overlooked elements where it's like, why aren't they? If at one point someone says, maybe we should take some of this stuff to the police, I'm like, yeah, you should have done that after a dead body showed up, you fools. So there's definitely some weird stuff, and I'd say the first half's a little on the slow side, but I think there's a bit more of a straightforward plot. It doesn't feel like it's trying to do like, because the first one had a lot of dream stuff where like they were dreaming things as psychics, and it was kind of like trying to be obscure about what was going on and all these hints and stuff, and it wasn't good enough to actually pull any of that off, I don't think. Here it plays out a bit more like a slasher movie. Yeah, you've got this sort of mad scientist style like puppet master character in the middle of it who's got a goal that he's trying to like achieve, but it is a lot more straightforward, and I think that's probably to the benefit of it. I agree the character's not been that entertaining. In fact, I would argue that the main two leads are by far the worst, and they're like so bland. Sure. The most interesting thing about the love interest guy is that he is like a discount Jake Busey. That's all I can really say for him. And then the main character Carolyn is she exists. She's there. Yeah. There's some dodgy acting pretty much across the board. There's the other guy Lance, who's kind of like the tech guy. Like he especially, I thought, like just had some really weird lines that he delivered with like no emotion or just like this, slight hamminess.
Which in a way though, I feel like that's kind of what you want for like a direct-to-video horror sequel.
Yeah, I mean, obviously some of this stuff, depending on your taste, may actually be appealing for the type of movie it is, and maybe that's what you get into. If anything, I could, because it's mostly the side characters that are wackier, and I think if there was more wackiness throughout the cast, I think I'd be into that. Because like there's kind of like a sub-romance between the tech guy Lance and was it Wendy? Was the other girl? No, Wanda. It was Wanda. And they basically just flirt and talk about sex a couple times, and that's all it really amounts to. But the dialogue is so weird and stilted that it comes off as kind of silly and odd. Yeah, and the main romance, holy crap! This is the most forced non-chemistry romance I've seen in a movie in quite some time. And the timing of it is especially absurd given the events that have transpired already by that point in the movie. So we'll get into a few of those details. But you got the puppets there. Some of the kills do have some gore in them this time, and there's even a couple of impressive shots. There's one shot in particular where one of the puppets jumps off a bed and runs towards the camera, and I thought that looked quite good for a direct-to-video 1990 movie. I was like, oh, you know what, that was a fun little effect.
Yeah, I like the like anytime the puppets are on screen, I think it's a pretty fun time. And there actually was like a few shots where I thought like, oh, like this actually looks pretty cool. Like uh, I forget who it was. Maybe yeah, I don't think it was Caroline. Like probably Wanda or something. But there was like one scene where she's just like entering a room, but just the way it was like lighted, like it was very dark and shadowy, and I was just like, oh, this like has like some atmosphere to it. It looks pretty nice, and can't really get to it too much, and yeah, without going into spoilers, but some stuff that you start seeing at the end, the movie, I thought was like, oh, this is like kind of creepy, the way like this one character looks and is like talking and stuff. I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah, well, I know what you're talking about, and we'll get into that in a bit. Yeah, and there's obviously one or two new puppets that are one in particular who has a flamethrower. So, yeah.
The thing that is hard about this is that like I think I've seen some of the later movies, or at least I kind of know them from like maybe scenes or like covers or whatever. So, it kind of sucks because like I'm not because I don't think I've seen this before, but I don't really get like the like I'm not really like getting like the surprise reveal of a new puppet because it's like I probably saw this guy in like Puppet Master 6 or whatever when I watched that like as a kid, but I mean it's still cool to see him and stuff, but it sucks not really having like that surprise.
Oh sure. Barring that, there's not a whole lot I've got to say spoiler free really, because like the music's basically the same as the first movie. It's the same main theme, which is fine, obviously, like, bring your main theme back. But I don't know if I noticed that much in the way of new music either, so don't have much to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound reductive, but I mean, it's Puppet Master 2. Like, it's not like there's, a ton of, like, stuff to really say about it. Not to slight it, because again, I did have fun with it, but
what Tim's saying is this could be a shorter episode. Is what, I think that's what Tim's getting.
I mean, it's not like we're gonna spend like 45 minutes talking about the themes before we go into spoilers or anything. It's not that kind of movie. And again, like it doesn't have to be. Like sometimes this is a kind of fun movie. Like to me, watching this was like, man, like I feel like I'm 15 or whatever, and me and my friends just rented this from like the video store, and we're gonna order some pizza and watch it on a Friday night. Like that's the kind of feeling this movie evokes, and and maybe that's the way you should watch it, with some 15-year-olds.
I mean, ask their parents first if it's okay, but sure, go out and find yourself some 15-year-olds to watch it with.
Hey dear. Kids.
How do you do, fellow kids? You want to watch Puppet Master 2 with me? Get away from me, you creepy old man! Dad, this guy's trying to make me watch weird movies.
And you're all like dressed up in bandages and stuff like.
I was just inquiring if I could borrow your child for a few hours to watch Puppet Master 2. Is that okay with you?
Oh man, if I was a teacher, I'd be like the cool teacher that'd be like, "Hey kids, it's Friday. Like, forget about the math test. We're gonna watch Puppet Master." I'd be fired pretty quickly, but
you would be. Oh, maybe the kids would be good to you and like I'll keep it a secret because they like the fact that the teacher just slacks off and lets them watch a movie every week.
Yeah, I'd say, like who are the kids that like tattle on something like that? Like, come on, like you struck gold. Like you got a teacher that's gonna show you cool movies. I
think it's like if the kid mentions it in passing to a parent, and the parent's like, "Wait a minute, you've been watching movies every week in class," and then it spreads back, and you get into trouble.
That'll do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, spoilers then for Puppet Master 2, if anyone is concerned. Yeah, so the movie opens with like the grave of like Toulon being dug up by Pinhead, who's the sort of the muscly puppet with a small head, and they've resurrected him, and then we're introduced to our main group of characters who are paranormal investigators.
I just have something. Shut up.
Yes, Tim, that's better be good.
Yeah, like usually, like when we're done a franchise, we'll rank the movies, which we can do with these once we watch all 27 of them. One of the later ones, which I believe stars Mark from The Room.
Stuff to look forward to.
But I think what we can do is, along like with ranking the films in the franchise, we can also rank the puppets.
Why was that important right this minute, Tim?
Because I just thought of it.
Sure. At a later date, we can rank the puppets.
I know which I'm putting first.
I mean, they're all above Brahms. I'll just get that right out of the way.
He's not a puppet though. He's a boy.
He's a puppet. He's a doll. It's a difference.
There's no way to, there's no way to put your hand in to
I'm sure we can find a hole in that boy if we really try hard, Tim.
Dear Lord. So it's gonna be our first PG-13 episode. So body.
All right, so we're introduced to paranormal investigators, and the paranormal investigators are like sent by the state to investigate the what local government's sending paranormal investigators to a hotel? Because there's the one surviving psychic from the first movie who's been, saying all sorts of nonsense in a mental hospital somewhere. We never see him in this movie, but they reference the main character who survived the first movie. And although at the end of the first movie, he didn't seem crazy. He seemed like he was actually quite normal leaving. It felt like he survived, happy ending. But this movie has us believe that he's a raving lunatic somewhere in a straitjacket because he can't stop talking about how crazy this hotel was.
Yeah, like if I remember correctly, the last movie ended with him kind of walking away and someone goes like, "Oh, there goes normal Joe."
Sometimes your humor just... It's not even just that it's not funny. It's just like it's really confusing. Like you.
I do want to hear like a really funny paranormal investigator thing that I saw.
I've got a feeling I'm going to hear it anyway. Tim, go on.
So, do you know that show, 28 Days Haunted on Netflix?
No, I do not.
So it was like this big experiment they were doing because the Warrens had this theory that like you couldn't truly investigate a haunted house unless you stayed there for 28 days. So Netflix did this revolutionary thing where they took like 4 different haunted locations and sent paranormal investigators to live there for, guess what, 28 days. And there's one episode, like, so there's this one couple, I don't know why I watched this, but there's this one couple that was like staying at this place, and like I think it was like a wife and a husband, and the wife was starting to get concerned that her husband was starting to become possessed because he was starting to get lazy and he didn't really want to do the work and he was kind of irritable. So obviously she was like, "Oh my God, he's being possessed by the demon," or whatever. And like she confronts her husband. She's like, "I don't know what happened to you. Like, you're so different. You changed. Like, you're not the same. You're being possessed. Like that evil energy has gotten its way into you, and you have to fight it."
Tim, can I just... Is this like a stealth way for you to just talk about your marriage on this show? Because this is not healthy.
This is not, I can confirm this was not us. I wish we would stay in a haunted place, but so here's the funny part though. So like she confronts her husband or whatever, and like her, they cut to like, this confessional with the husband or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, like that's when it hit me that she was right. I was becoming possessed, so I had to fight this demon with everything I had." And then like, does like one of those dramatic close-ups or whatever on him, and he goes, "I had to get the God helmet." And then it just cuts to him like putting on this like Professor X looking helmet.
But they didn't set up the God helmet previously. He just whipped that phrase out like it was nothing.
Yeah, it was just like, like how every paranormal investigator has like their tools. They have like holy water, crucifix, and of course the God helmet. Which he tried to explain it, but it didn't sound like it made sense. It was just like, oh yeah, it has all these magnets that can amplify your psychic energy. I was like, okay. But I don't know. Whenever I think of paranormal investigator now, I just think of this God helmet guy. It makes me laugh.
Do you think that would work against possession? Like if we all had Magneto helmets on, no one would ever get possessed?
That's a good question. I guess demons are just like, their secret weakness is just magnets.
I didn't know where that story was going, Tim, so I mean...
Well, you, like, I don't know, people couldn't see it, but I saw you giving me like the stretch hand motion. You're worried it's gonna be a short episode, so you're like, stretch. I
did no such
funny
thing.
Anecdote.
I did no such thing. This is a video
People
podcast.
don't know this, but you're like a baseball coach. Like, you give me signs like during the podcast.
Tim, they
like,
can see us. They can see
like,
me.
This means make 2 points. This is for Butterball.
Okay, Tim. I actually did television production in university, right? That 2 and then a 1 just mean there's 2 minutes left until the end or until ads, right? That's that's or 1 minute. That's all it means. Like there's nothing more complex than that. This is the signal you're given to the presenter to be like, all right, you got a minute, so get to your point quickly because you need to like do the ad segue.
Okay.
I'm sorry I know things, Tim. I'm sorry that I'm not following along with your make-believe version of events.
I mean, I don't know why you decided to change the signals when you started doing a podcast. That's just going to be confusing if we ever get a TV show.
I don't use signals. Why would you be like... Surely, if anything, I'd be the one who's the presenter. I'd be the one doing the signal. I'd be the one having to pay attention to the signals of the floor manager.
Right.
This is just chaos. This is what was I even talking about? I forgot what the hell we were talking about in the movie now.
Paranormal investigators.
Okay, we're talking about paranormal investigators. I'm glad we got back to that. Bloody hell! Right.
When you show me your back, so that means let's get back to what we were talking about.
Oh, bloody hell. So yes, the state have sent in the group of paranormal investigators. Don't understand that, but whatever. They mentioned they get a key from the state, but and the key doesn't work. But then luckily, one of the guys can lockpick it anyway. So whatever. I don't know. Anyway,
it's important.
So we set up the characters, and the characters are...
He was the master of unlocking, though, you gotta admit.
I mean, I always appreciate a Resident Evil reference, but Tim, now's not the time. Now's not the time. We have Carolyn, who's the leader of the group, right? Who is determined to find something. She's very serious. We have her brother. Who, I didn't realize it was her brother until they just mentioned it in a couple of scenes' time. But her brother... who is, I think, a cameraman / photographer or something. He is... what was his name? I'm trying to find his name with the credits. Was it Patrick? Was he Patrick? Maybe it was Patrick. Yeah, he's high enough in the credits. His one characteristic is that apparently when he's been drinking, he becomes really weirdly confrontational. Like, that's the one thing we sort of get about him, really, early on. And that was actually the scene when he gets weirdly confrontational to another character during the dinner scene, and then Carolyn just says, "Oh, my brother can't handle his drink ever since her father something," and I was like, "Oh, he's your brother? Okay." I'm glad that came up because I had no idea you were related until now.
It's good to know.
I thought it was the love interest, to be honest.
Yeah. It's when you double check to make sure you're watching the right movie. Like, did I turn on Brother Master? Or like, no, it's still Puppet Master. Okay. You make sure you're watching the right movie. It's not Brother Master.
Do you see this vein in my forehead, Tim? This vein is bulging. We also introduced to Lance, who's like the sound or tech guy. And then there's also Wanda, who is... I don't know what her job is. You see her sitting at a computer. She does something on a computer. That's all I know. But Wanda and Lance flirt a little bit a few times throughout the movie. It's funny you brought up the room earlier. You brought up Mark from the room, because now that you've brought that up, I think there's a comparison with one scene from the room where Wanda's decided that she wants to engage in some sexual intercourse with Lance, and it seems like it takes him a little while to get it, because she says, "Oh, I couldn't sleep. I was dreaming about something, but then, something got horny." And I'm like, I think she's sending you some signals here, buddy. Maybe time to pick up on them. And she basically has to like put her arms around him and be like, "What are you going to do when your shift watching the cameras is up?" And makes it very clear. And he's like, "Go to bed." And I thought he was going to say, and I thought his follow up line when she goes, "Oh," was like, "But I didn't say my bed, wink wink." And then that's how the scene would end. Instead, he pulls some condoms out of his pocket and goes, "But it's a double." I'm like, that's so much lamer. I mean, I don't actually think it's not my bed is that cool either, but like it made more sense to me than it's a double. Like, I presume you're all sleeping in double beds.
I don't know. I thought this scene was pretty hot, personally.
Well, did you? You thought this was deep eroticism, did you? We'll just skip ahead to the other scene. I think it's the next night. Because the movie goes still like 4 or 5 days, to be honest, because it keeps being daytime, then nighttime, and then so on and so on. It's like, damn, this is taking place. It's like I get the impression the movie feels like it's supposed to be set over a weekend, but there's like 5 days in the movie, so it can't be. But later on,
like Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, okay. But later on, we cut to Wanda, and she's just naked. Well, no, she's topless. I should say she's topless. And she's mad at Lance because he wanted to take a shower after they had sex, and he's like, "Don't take."
Insulting.
Is it?
It's like, oh yeah, I want to get all the juice I got from you off of my body. Like that's horrible.
The juice, Tim. He's like, "Don't take it personally," and she's like, "No, I always like it when a man has to hose down after."
Another very hot scene.
Well, it gets hotter later when the flamethrower gets introduced, I'll give you that. But yeah, so then he gets mad at her because she decided to abandon her post at the cameras to come and have sex. He seems really annoyed about that. I feel like since he just got laid, he'd probably be a bit more easygoing about it, but he's upset. You
can always go back and check the cameras, like it's not that big a deal.
Okay. That's basically all. Other than the fact that they're just around in the group scenes, that's basically all their major scenes. All in their death, which is right after this. She leaves the room, hears a noise, comes back to find that he's burning alive because her flamethrower puppets engulfed him in flames. Oh wait, no! No, it wasn't flamethrower. This was Blade who killed them here in this scene. Because she comes in and he's like on top of him and he's like gouged out something. And then he comes because this is the scene where he jumps off the bed, which is a really cool shot, and then he runs up to her and starts slashing her in the face. So you see all these like lines appearing on her face quite quickly.
Oh yeah. It's kind of funny because I feel like I can remember the deaths, but like I don't know, the characters just didn't do much for me. So like I have like trouble remembering like who the deaths were to.
Who the deaths were to?
Yeah.
Oh, bring your grammar A game today, Timmy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought I'd mention that. Because they get a shot of the drill head one going into a room, like in their security cameras, because the drill head kills the brother, right? The brother Patrick. Yeah. And I
think that's like the first kill, I believe.
Well, it's the first kill you see. Technically, there's like an older woman who we've not mentioned yet who shows up as a psychic. And she's killed off camera, but it cuts away before you actually see her death. We just sort of see her being dragged away. Okay. But yeah, he's the first death you actually see on camera.
But isn't it kind of confusing though? Because you'd think, like, I don't know, the guy with the drill, I would think would be like Pinhead, you know? He's got like a sharp, pointy head.
Is he called Pinhead?
But I thought the Pinhead was the other guy, like the strong one.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know all their names. I remember Blade's the main one with a hat. Pinhead's the bulky dude.
Yeah. Leech Woman, of course. It's easy to remember. Jester, I think, is like the one whose face spins really fast.
And then they're kind of like a new one in this as well. And the flamethrower dude, you actually see him getting built. He's got like an army helmet, and he just shoots flames out of his arm. Which is actually, honestly, the most impressive weapon any of them have is this flame, because this flamethrower is just a full-size flamethrower. Like, the flame that comes out of it's just as big as any other flamethrower. So, you know, whatever. So her brother dies, and they put him in like the walk-in freezer in the hotel, and not one person suggests going to the police or reporting the fact that he's dead. They're like, no, we have to figure out and solve what's going on here. And it's like, what? And not only do they get footage of the drillhead one walking around, they actually capture him. When they find the brother being killed, Lance stomps on him, and then they like dissect it, and they even like do some sort of scan of it, because it goes into the 1990 computer, and there's like a sort of like autopsy looking thing on the computer. I don't know how they did that in 1990, but you know, whatever. By all means,
yeah.
Yeah. So we got all this going on. The psychic lady, when she's like on her way to the hotel, because she arrives a little bit later, she like runs into these neighbor characters who are set up to be killed later, which is a couple of neighbors who are putting up an electrified fence, which, by the way, it's electrified barbed wire, and the guy, the farmer, is like basically like knotting it and stuff by hand, but he's not like he gets cut, and all I can think is like, surely you'd wear gloves for this job. Like, why are you using your bare hands to work with barbed wire?
I mean, he doesn't really seem like the smartest bulb in the bunch, to be kind.
Well, neither of them do really. Although they're smart enough to stay away from the hotel. But so that's farmer couple. Later on, there's a kill scene where the wife just wakes up and the farmer guy's already dead. Right? He's just like had his guard, because they're coming after these lobes that are in your head. Right? That's what they're specifically getting. More on why later. Which
I don't remember that from the first movie, but I guess they need brains now.
Well, they do, but it's not like they eat them. It's it's very specific, which we'll get into. It's just to do with the puppet master himself. But she wakes up and the husband's already dead, and obviously she freaks out a bit.
She thinks he's like masturbating. Yeah. She's like, if you're gonna do that, get out to go to the other room. I feel like that tells you a lot about their relationship.
Like, how many times has she woke up in the middle of the night and goes, "Stop it, Tom."
Just having a wank, dear.
Oh yeah, because people in the US say just having a wank.
They might.
Well, on average, I would say probably not. But she wakes up, she grabs a shotgun, and she starts looking through the house, chasing for the puppet. And there's a few of the puppets there. She actually catches the lady puppet and like tosses her into the furnace, so she dies, which is actually kind of foreshadowing, because she throws her into the furnace and obviously burns her alive. And then this is the reveal of what the new puppet can do. This is when the flamethrower puppet sort of shows off his toy, and he lights her up and she's in flames. What got me about this scene is that this woman's an idiot, because she leans down to like look at something at one point, and she pushed the shotgun on the floor, but for some reason, because it's a doll, right? The puppets have like knocked over one of her like collectible dolls, and the arms are off it, and she kneels down and she picks up her doll, she puts the gun down, and I'm like, your husband was just murdered next to you. You're chasing what you think is the murderous like supernatural puppet throughout your house, and you're putting down your weapon because you're upset. You're more upset about your stupid doll than you are your husband. And then what really gets me is that when she stands back up, she doesn't pick the gun up. She picks up a frying pan that's nearby. Why are you not picking up the shotgun?
Yeah, again, she just ain't with it too much.
God, is this really the was this the intellect of people in 1990? I mean, times were rough.
Well, I mean, these were like kind of out there, kind of hillbilly yokel uber Christian type switch.
Tim's getting controversial. Tim's making some assumptions about these people, which I don't think the world at large will appreciate.
All right, come at me. I'm scared to tell the truth. I would be remiss though if we don't just take a moment to mourn the loss of what I think we can both agree was the hottest puppet. No?
I can't say I gave it much thought, Tim, which the puppet was the hottest.
I mean, if there's one you like more, that's fine, but
I'm not attracted to puppets. Is this why you like The Boys so much? You got some sort of creepy Brahms fetish going on? What's going on here?
I mean, that's disgusting. That's a boy. Come on, man.
It's still a goddamn puppet. Or a doll, at the very least.
Very different things. Very different.
Oh yeah, dolls and puppets. They're so different. Especially these puppets that don't actually have any strings on them because they're all walking around on their own.
That's what's impressive about them.
Oh dear. So that's one death scene. The other random death scene we get throughout the movie is presumably the parents get killed as well, but there's like a kid playing in the woods, and there's a lot of thoughts I have on this little sequence here. So it's like it's like the two parents, we never see them, we just hear the mum shouting, but they're in like an RV, and this kid goes outside to play, and he's got like a doll, like an action figure. Although to be honest, it looks more like a male Barbie than it does like a boy's like action figure, but it doesn't really matter. This kid's got some problems though. So he wants to play. How did he pronounce it? It was like Indiana. That's what he says. He says,
"Oh yeah,
I'm Indiana." So he's pretending he's Indiana Jones, and he's got a full size like actual whip. He has a real whip, right? And he does refer to the doll as a Nazi, to be fair. But I would still question the psyche of this child when what he's doing for fun is placing this like sort of doll like up against a tree, face first, and then standing and whipping its back like he's whipping someone in like a public whipping trial.
Yeah,
it's a little bit disturbing.
It's a very good point.
It's just a bit disturbing. This whole thing, Tim. He should be put on a list. Future serial killer in the making, or he would be if he wasn't killed by the doll in a minute. But
I mean, it's 50-50. He's either going to grow up to be a serial killer or globe-trotting archaeologist. It's who can say.
Yeah. So he accidentally
make sure to check out Mild Fuzz later this year for the coverage of Indiana Jones 5 and the Dial of Destiny.
It'll be on the collector's cut, so yes, that is a fair plug. Although by the time this airs, it may actually be really close to that coming out because we're recording these in advance.
There you go.
Because Tim's away doing baby duty right now. With a whip?
No, it's Indiana Jones.
Okay. I thought you were doing a sound effect of how you perform your fatherly duties. If you're performing fatherly duties with a newborn with a whip, I would question that. I mean, once they're like 10, I think the whip's fair game personally, but not everyone agrees with that opinion.
I mean, I guess it's useful if like they're far away and they're about to put something really dangerous in their mouth, like if they have like a little cyanide pill or something, you're like, oh no, and then you gotta whip it out real fast.
Yeah, Tim living in the mean streets of somewhere where cyanide pills are just found randomly in suburban neighborhoods. Is there also like barrels of toxic waste and
well, man, it's not the 80s.
Just cyanide pills then, okay.
Yeah.
If you shake a tree near Tim's house, some cyanide pills will fall out of the tree.
We're like the Americans.
The TV show The Americans?
Yeah.
Very good.
I don't know, that's like spies would be the only people that would have cyanide pills, I'd assume.
Yeah, sure.
What's funny is like anyone watching this review, like if they just like randomly just like jump to like any like time in it, there's a good chance that like like there's no way you could predict like some of the stuff we're talking about.
And what parts of it will make it into the final review? Who could say?
Oh yeah, like you edit anything.
Aye, if a tangent's long enough, I'll edit it out and slap it on Patreon as like a deleted segment. You're warned.
Oh no, I better keep my trap shut.
Anyway, so those are the sort of the bigger deaths. We've kind of talked about those. The morning after, or like 2 mornings after, the old woman psychic goes missing, her son shows up, and this is the discount Jake Busey, as I mentioned earlier, and he is, I guess he's Michael, I think. Let's go with Michael. But he shows up, he's on his motorbike, and he comes in and asks a few questions about when his mother left, because they don't know if she's like went back to her old folks home or wherever she lives. And
again, like another person that doesn't seem to be taking it like too seriously. Like it's enough to him that he's trying to find her, but also he's just kind of like a lot of the time just like, oh well, like
he's very nonchalant about her, because he shows up and they're like, hey, yeah, my brother died here, here's the dead body, also here's the puppet we found that was the culprit. And they're, so, but this is like such a weird forced relationship, because obviously they're doing the relationship thing, because she says, hey, you've been driving here all day, why don't you like spend the night? It's a hotel after all, there's a lot of rooms, and then you can go back tomorrow. And he's like, okay, sure, thanks, I'll get my bag. And then the next day, like, they're sort of bonding a little bit, and he decides that he's going to go drive to like where his mum's supposed to live, and she goes with him, and they go all the way out there, and he basically just walks out of a building and says, nope, they don't know where she is, and that's basically the scene. And what really got me is that there's a scene not too long after that where she's relieved of duty, she's at the computer and the security cameras, and the other chick, Wanda, comes over and says, hey, Michael's found some wine or something, and he shouldn't drink it alone, why don't you go and be with him? And she goes to see him, and he puts on some music, and they crack some jokes, and he says, I know it's not a great time, but would you like to dance? And she's like, actually, it's the perfect time. And it's like maybe this like moment where there's kind of like, because he's, what's the other line that really bugged me? He says, oh yeah, you act like, you feel all alone, but I need to let you know that you're not alone. You met her like a day and a half ago, and you've done nothing significant with her. Like there's like nothing's happened between them that makes me think, oh, they've had some moments or they've gotten to know each other. It feels like they're still strangers, but they're acting like this is like just, oh no, we're already in Act 2 with the romance. Just go along with it. Like even though we've not earned any of it, it's fine.
I mean, you may not remember this, but things move kind of fast in the 90s.
I mean, I was literally 1 when this movie came out, so no, I do not recall 1990 specifically. But what is hilarious about this scene is that our bandaged man, he's got an alias, he's pretending to be someone else, but it's Toulon, shows up in his bandages, and he's like, may
I'll
I?
take that dance.
Yes, may I have this dance? And
no.
I just thought it was funny though that he shows up to cop block right as they're starting to have their bonding scene. He's like, I'm going to cop block this, and all I could think was, yeah, have a dance with your new love interest. Yeah, like horrible sister, your brother's lying dead in the freezer and you're still not told the police.
All right, should we blow everyone's minds?
Go on.
Should we reveal why Toulon is so interested in her?
Because she looks the exact same as his dead wife.
Alright, like how, like, be honest, did you like crap your pants when you heard that?
I don't know if I'd call it.
It's kind of mind blowing.
It's I don't know if mind blowing is the word I'd use. We see him look at her old photo of her. So yeah, they're not surprised in this scene that he shows up. They're kind of weirded out by him because he showed up earlier and claims to own the hotel, even though they think the state owns it. And he's just kind of like up in his room, and they just kind of accept this. It's kind of weird. I mean, Carolyn does want to like sneak about and like look into his room, which she does eventually later in the movie, but by and large, they just kind of roll with it and are like, we'll just sort of like not worry about it. And I'm like, your brother was killed in a room in this hotel, and just because this guy says he only arrived today and not yesterday when he could have killed your brother, you don't think this is suspicious? You're trusting, like, she's trusting a lot of strangers right after her brother's been murdered. A lot of strangers. It's really quite baffling.
And not only that, but it's like the fact that, you know, he was murdered by a puppet that seemingly, you know, by the like laws of science, like should not be able to function and operate, and yet, you know, no one really thinks that's like the craziest thing that they should, like, obviously yes, the brother dying, you should notify people, but also like the fact that this crazy shit is happening, like maybe that should put you more on edge and, you know, make you want to get the hell out of there. But
at one point she's sitting on the computer and someone says, oh, maybe we should leave, and she's like, no, I'm not leaving or going to sleep until I've solved this. I have to solve this. And like her saying that's the only investigating, other than getting into Toulon's room later on, like, you ever see them do anything to like try to figure anything out? Or like, see if this was a movie where they were literally like they'd set up a bunch of cameras and it was kind of like you know, like a haunted like asylum movie or something where they're setting up cameras and they're trying to catch like spooky stuff on the cameras. See if this was something where they were getting different glimpses of different like puppets, and they were trying to like place where they were coming from, and there was some puzzle solving. Like that might be quite fun. But it's just kind of like a backdrop.
Sounds like you want to play Resident Evil.
I mean, I often do, Tim. Let's not pretend otherwise. But yeah, so we even get a flashback at one point where some what is that? Is this so Toulon, when he's a younger man, and he's got his wife named Elsa, he's doing a show with his puppets in Cairo, and some magical man sets his, like with his mind, sets his puppet show on fire, and then comes to him later and tries to sell him this, like, you know, jester puppet that moves on its own, and basically the secrets to like bringing the puppets to life, by the sounds of it. So I guess he's a sorcerer or like a warlock or something like that. I don't know. No thoughts, Tim?
Yeah, he was something.
He was
this is
something.
a crazy scene. I don't know what you want me to say.
I don't know. What were your thoughts on it? Tell me something. What stuck out to you?
I think this movie goes so much harder than it needs to. Like, all you have to do is show us some puppets killing people, and that would be totally fine. But instead, they give us the story about this like resurrected. I don't even know.
Puppet
like,
master.
Sorcerer,
Puppet
magician,
master. He's a resurrected puppet master, Tim. Come
puppet
on.
master.
It's the title of the movie.
I don't know, but I mean, that's not like entirely indicative of like what he can do. Like, I don't know, he's clearly has like weird arcane knowledge that I'm guessing he learned from this sorcerer warlock guy. But
what do you mean you're guessing? The scene's telling us straight up he got all of his stuff from this dude.
I'm just saying, like, it's like this is a lot of stuff that it's not like I'm upset that it's there, but you know, we don't really need all this stuff.
I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of fun for what it is. You know, I'm making fun of it a bit, but it's you know, it's kind of fun. I do like
going the extra mile too.
I mean, the guy playing Toulon in the bandages, I think, is hamming it up, and he is kind of entertaining because he's like doing the over the top German accent, and
I think he is funny. Yeah.
So anyway, so basically he's sending the puppets out to kill people because he needs these lobes in their brain or in their head to he needs it to make his concoction, which will rejuvenate them, because the puppets are all going to die. Basically, they only last for about 50 years unless they get a re-up of the potion that and the main ingredient, which is hard to get, is this lobe from the human brain. They can get it from animals, but he doesn't want it from animals because it has side effects, and we see what some of those side effects are later. But like, that's the game, right? And they're all worried that they're going to die, so he's sending the puppets out to do this. And he's trying to fix up the jester, and he's like promising them that he's going to fix them all up. But the big twist of the movie is that he's not going to fix them up. He's using them to collect all the ingredients, but what he actually is wanting to do is put himself and the reincarnation of his wife, which at least that's what he thinks she is, right? Carolyn into life-size, like, human-size puppets, right? And he's built these human-size puppets, which we see later on. So when Carolyn goes snooping later on, he finds her, the puppets find her, and they tie her up, and that's kind of where we get into the last, like, hurrah of the movie. Whilst Michael's just running around in his jeans, because they have sex, by the way. Like, before she does this, like the night before she goes snooping, she has sex with Michael, and there's like a romantic scene when it's all sensual and they're under the white sheets, and all I could think was, your brother's downstairs in a freezer. Maybe call the police. Just a thought. I mean, you all look suspicious now because you've not called the police, and it's been like 4 days since he died.
Sometimes you just need to. You need some way to relieve the tension.
Well, she got screwed here because she wanted to be equal to her brother, who also already got screwed.
Oh, ba-dum-bum.
He got screwed in the head with a drill head, dude. That's what that joke was.
That's true. That's good. I like them.
I'm glad you liked it, Tim. So yeah. So here's the thing. So the puppet master drains his blood into his life-size puppet, and then it switches to this thing. But see, before the puppet transfer happens, though, this wasn't just like a mannequin sitting in a chair. There was an actor, and do you want to know how I know there was an actor inside that outfit? Because he was breathing the entire time, and he was supposed to have nothing going on. He was meant to just be a lifeless puppet, and there's just this stomach's just going up and down. I'm like, come on, how has no one noticed this and said, hey, maybe we should not show his like middle region that much, just so that we can avoid giving this away.
I'm hoping that, eventually if they do like a 4K transfer or something, maybe someone can just go in there and kind of CGI that out and just make the stomach stationary.
I mean, to be fair, it's got a pretty nice like 1080p transfer already.
Oh yeah,
as a Blu-ray,
for sure.
I don't know if you watched the nice HD version, whatever streaming service you watched on, but
I watched it on Shudder. My God.
I assume it's HD on Shudder.
Sure.
Did it look like a crappy VHS? These are not hard questions, Tim.
I don't know what it looked like. It looked like a movie. What are you talking about?
It looked like a movie. What are you talking about?
Did it look like the same as like Avatar 2 Way of the Water? Yeah.
Yeah. An emphatic yes on that question, is it?
Side by side, I could not tell the difference.
I would like to think the fact that they're different movies would make it easy to tell the difference.
I have movie blindness. I can't. All movies look the same to me.
Oh, that's great for watching movies and talking about them.
Yeah, I'm surprised it took this long to come up with it, but yeah. I basically for me to watch a movie is basically like watching like 90 minutes of just kind of blurry white fuzz.
Okay.
The dialogue is fine. I hear that fine. So I can usually follow along well enough.
Okay.
Movie blindness, it's a real thing. It's an epidemic.
An epidemic of one, yes.
Yeah. So far, there's no cure. Except for podcasts.
I mean, there can't be a cure for a thing that doesn't exist, so that's okay. Yeah, so he switches bodies to the mannequin body, and he gets up and starts walking around and talking. And
I love the way this looked. I thought this is like kind of so weird and off-putting.
Yeah, it does look pretty creepy. It's obviously this full bodysuit. The only thing I will say is that there's like fake sort of teeth over the top half of the top row of teeth, but the bottom row of teeth is the real actor's mouth. You can see and it's very obvious they're different. It's very obvious the top's real and the bottom. Oh, sorry, the top's fake and the bottom's real. And I'm like, why aren't the bottom ones also fake? Why aren't those also got like coverings on them? And the only thing I can think of is that they tried that, and maybe like it just made it impossible to hear the actor properly. Maybe they couldn't deliver their lines, and they had to have the bottom without the caps over the teeth. And if that's the case, then fair enough. But it's really obvious when there's a close up of him talking that you can see like the bottom, the real mouth inside underneath, because the bottom's not covered.
I don't know. I guess I didn't notice it as much as you.
Didn't notice it. Why are you blind? Apparently, yeah. Apparently, you're movie blade. Yeah, that's what you're telling me.
I don't know. As like, as I guess I was paying more attention to just like how weird the face looked, and like just like the vacant eyes and like the weird smooth skin.
I don't know.
Like
there was a topless scene like 10 minutes before this, so maybe you were just still thinking about the boobs. So that's all I can think. That's the only way I can explain this.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of,
speaking of
fake
boobs,
tops and real bottoms.
That was actually quite a funny joke about breast implants, Tim. Very good.
Which I mean, I don't know if that actress had implants. It's just making
She did. She definitely did, Tim. Come on.
But yeah, I do think it would be funny though if, like if he were to survive, and I guess in a way we do have a someone that survives in this type of body in the end, but like, you can't function, like you can't be a part of society when you look like this.
Because you look like a creepy doll person. Everyone's immediately going to go, wait a minute, why do you look like a monster from my worst nightmares? Get away from me. But this was his plan. This is what he wanted to do. So, yes. Also, no shade on fake boobs, by the way. I was just...
No, of course not. No.
You want fake boobs? Go get fake boobs. There's no judgments from me. It was just a funny joke Tim said.
Yeah, no, it's just I was just trying to make my boy laugh here. No ill will towards it. Come on, people know we're woke. Come on, we're down with it.
I love how the definition of being woke on this episode is liking fake tits. I saw the fake boobs and it woke me up. Like I've been enlightened. You also see Michael because he like the flamethrower one, tries to kill him when he's lying in bed after he's had sex with Carolyn. You actually get a lot of his ass when he's like jumping out of bed and like trying to put out the fire with a sheet, and so there's a little eye candy for those that are into men too. There's a little bit.
It truly is a movie for everyone.
Oh yeah, especially children under 5. They'll love it. There's puppets for them. There's boobs for us. There's some ass cheeks for the ladies. There's a little bit for everyone. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so the puppets realize that the puppet master's double crossed them and that he's making all this stuff for him rather than them, and they revolt. They drag him down. They smash his puppet body, and he like bleeds green now because he's like a puppet. I guess.
Ooze.
Yeah. So yeah, he gets
a couple of turtles walk by and like, what's this stuff?
He gets killed and smashed to bits and all the rest of it. Michael runs in and grabs Carolyn, and they go away. They run out of the building. Happy days. And then the puppets decide
to elope, probably.
Probably. And the puppets decide to use the magic concoction on the dead body of the psychic lady, the old psychic lady, and they put her into the female, because the female mannequin body, of course, was for Carolyn, because the puppet master was like, oh, my wife is going to be in this body and blah blah blah. But they put her in that body. So the little tail end of the movie, there's a little scene where the psychic lady is now a human-sized puppet, a full-size puppet, and she's driving the rest of the puppets to a hospital for children, so they can
like something for like a mental hospital for like teens and tots, or like something like that.
Is that what they put in the sign outside? Mental facility for teens and tots.
It was like literally like something like that.
Because basically the idea is that they can kill and take whatever they want from there, and if anyone sees anything, well, they all think they're crazy because they're in a mental hospital, so like they'll ignore them. You didn't see a puppet walking around.
It's a foolproof plan. I gotta give it to her.
Yeah. What I don't get though is the idea that this psychic lady is just like on board with all this. Like, why is she just like, evil and working with the puppets now? Is it because she's in a big puppet body and she's like, well, I have to just make the best with what I've got? I can't go back to being a normal woman anymore, so I guess I'm just...
I mean, this kind of brings up the bigger question of the series, but like, are the puppets evil? You know? I don't know.
We'll find out in more because yeah, it's a little bit murky after these first two because they're kind of being used by bad people, and I think in both movies to some extent they've kind of revolted against the bad person that was controlling them,
right?
When they realise they're being like used or double crossed or whatever. So I don't know. We'll I would say we'll see if Puppet Master 3 picks up on this this tease at the end. However,
I really hope it does.
Well, no, it doesn't.
I'm intrigued.
Well, 4 might. 4 could do it.
Okay.
But Puppet Master 3 is all backstory because it's set during World War II, if I remember right.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So we go back to like what's his name, Collin making, and like he's got the puppets back in like Nazi Germany or something like that. Like that. I don't really remember much about it, but I vaguely remember that was the setting of the movie. Yeah. So very different film. So I mean, ballsy move for a franchise like this to go back to that time period and do a movie then. But so as far as present day Puppet Master shenanigans goes, though, we won't get any more of that, I think, until number 4.
Okay.
Assuming number 4 set present day.
Well, I mean, one thing I will say about this is, as soon as I was done, I was kind of like, yeah, I kind of want to watch the next one. Because I like, I don't know, this one I just had it's not an amazing movie by any means, but like, I don't know, I just had enough fun with it that it did kind of make me excited to keep going with the franchise. For a 90s direct-to-video movie, there's some decent entertainment to be had. Like, I was mostly making fun of it because it's not a good movie, but there's there's some fun kills. There's a couple of funny lines from characters, not enough to be like, on the level of like a proper like so bad it's great movie. But if you like this type of like kind of bad movie, you might get a little bit of fun out of it. And it is brisk, so there is that. So we don't know when we're doing the third one yet. I mean, maybe we'll squeeze it in before you go on paternity. Squeeze.
I doubt it, but I mean, maybe when you come back, we'll maybe like throw in the next one during the Octoberthon or something.
Fun.
And get to some more Puppet Master. But all right, Tim. I guess we're rating. What are you giving Puppet Master 2?
I think I'll give it a 6. I think it's fun. It's fast. If
it's
you're
furious.
Nostalgic, it is all about family. The family that you just leave in the freezer for a couple of days while you do whatever you want.
Yeah, they run out of the hotel at the end actually without ever even like, should we not get my brother's corpse out the freezer? No. Which, by the way, the freezer set is just a white room and they've got some like sort of like dry ice coming down to but it doesn't look like a freezer though. It looks like just like a white room with some dry ice coming from above the camera. But anyway,
but I mean, it's certainly cheesy, but it delivers on a lot of the aspects that you would want from like a full moon, straight to DVD, or I guess in this case it would have been video, horror sequel. But I think like kind of like the biggest problem is just the characters don't really stand out enough, because if you kind of had that marriage of like an over the top cheesy movie with, but also like kind of more outrageous characters that are saying and doing kind of crazy things, like then I think it would have really upped the fun factor. But I mean, as it is, I still think it's pretty entertaining, and anytime the puppets are on screen, it's just a lot of fun. They always look really cool and the deaths are fun. And yeah, the story is kind of ridiculous, but again, you kind of got to respect like how hard they're going for like a movie with all this stuff about reincarnation and like magic formulas and stuff, when again it's like, you could just have like killer puppets for no reason and we would have been entertained. But I mean, that stuff is kind of a hoot. So I think there's a lot of fun to be had with this. I certainly feel more positive about this one than the first one, which again, I don't remember a lot about the first one, but I do remember it being a little slower and a bit more...
It's just a bit dull, I think, the first one.
Yeah.
This one feels like it's trending in the right direction for what I want out of the franchise, and I'll rate it. I think I give the first one like a 5. I think I'm going to go a little bit higher with this and say 5.5, which is to say that I think there's more to it that I enjoyed. It's not quite as fun as I remember it being from my first viewing, but I did enjoy the puppet scenes. I enjoyed the hamminess of I think my favorite part about it's the puppet master himself, like his hammy kind of like over delivery.
His stuff is fun.
Yeah, like his stuff I enjoyed. It's just
the fact that like everyone is basically treating him like a normal guy.
I know, like just simple things like when Carolyn and like not Jake Busey are walking to like his bike to leave and go check on his mother. They pass by the puppet master and he stands up and sort of has a bit of small talk with them, and he says, "Oh yes, more bikes. Take care of Carolyn here because we wouldn't want her to get hurt, would we? How easy it would be to be, or yourself even. You wouldn't want you to be maimed or brutally, ripped to pieces or anything like he really lays on thick, and the stuff like that's entertaining. And it's kind of funny to laugh at some of the things that aren't that good about it. So, but it's definitely a Full Moon Pictures movie
for sure.
I'll say that much. It definitely feels like that.
Yeah.
So, all right, well there you go. Puppet Master 2. We'll be back with number 3 at some point in a future episode. Look out for it.
Yeah. But yeah, let's maybe next review we do, maybe let's not do a 1990 horror sequel.
Oh, very good. Yes, because we had Exorcist 3.
This is funny we did that back to back.
That's just a weird coincidence, I guess. I don't really have a reason for it other than we're working through all the Exorcist movies and we're working through some Puppet Master. Puppet Master's a bit slower though, obviously, because we're in no rush for that. Exorcist has got a new one coming out this year, so we have to get the ball rolling and speed into it. So yeah, let us know what you think of Puppet Master 2 if you've seen it in the comments. Please do like, subscribe, and ding the bell for notifications. All that stuff does help. And if you want to help even more than that, you can do so and get some bonus content by going over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and supporting us over there with a little bit of money every month, however much you want. At the $3 tier, you get access to the bonus episodes. At the $5 tier, you get access to the Even More Stream show, which is a monthly show where we just talk about what horror movies we've been watching. Now, both of those things are on pause while Tim's away until sometime later on in 2023, but there's a back catalogue if you've not seen them. There's bonuses like those for other shows that I do with other people on the channel, such as the sci-fi show, the Atomic Cinema Experiment, and the Collector's Cut, which is sort of a general working through franchises and sort of like subgenres of movies and things like that. So go and have a look and see if you want any of the bonus goodies and stuff. But that is the show. That has been Screams After Midnight. I will just... one last thing, thank our Patreon producers for the month. So thank you very much to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Sharp, Bornow, Christopher Moy, David Brown, and Al Treisman. Thank you to you all.
I thought you were gonna thank me for a second. Like I was like, oh, that's like so nice. I was like, no.
I'm not gonna lie, Tim. You were a challenge this episode.
My word.
A challenge.
Shut.
Yeah, I don't know. So you said some controversial things. You took attention away from the movie numerous times, and
I didn't realize we're not supposed to do that. I apologize.
Quite frankly, you've been an absolute menace. But that Screams After Midnight, everyone.
Sorry.
We'll see you next time. Keep watching scary movies. Goodbye.
Peace.